They laughed at my gift until the truth came out. Before we begin the story, take a moment to support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Your support means the world to our channel and helps us spread more shocking true stories to light. Now, let's get started. Through the towering glass windows of a Manhattan high-rise, the city pulsed with life far below. The golden hues of the setting sun bathed the skyline, casting long shadows across the spacious, meticulously organized office. Jennifer Monroe sat behind her mahogany desk, her gaze fixed on the blueprints sprawled before her. As the CEO of Monroe Properties, one of New York's fastest-growing real estate firms, she lived in a world of relentless ambition. The price of success was steep, but she had paid it willingly. A soft knock at the door broke her thoughts. "Jennifer, a call from Mr. Brown," her assistant, Lisa, said gently. Jennifer exhaled, smoothing back a stray strand of golden blonde hair. She picked up her phone, already knowing what the call was about. "Yes, Mr. Brown. I've reviewed the documents. Everything is set, including the special arrangements for my parents," she confirmed. After the call ended, she reached into her desk drawer and pulled out an old photograph. The edges were worn, the colors faded, but the memory was vivid. A little girl with messy curls smiled up at the camera, standing in front of a small Queens apartment. Her mother, Martha, held her baby sister, April, while her father, Thomas, stood behind them, his arms protective around his family. A time when they had little, yet somehow they had everything. But life had not been kind. When Jennifer was 10, her father suffered a back injury at the factory where he worked. The steady paycheck stopped. The warm meals turned scarce. Her mother juggled multiple jobs, exhaustion written in the lines of her face. And Jennifer, just a child, learned that dreams could only be achieved through sacrifice. She had vowed then, one day, I'll make life easier for them. One day, they'll never have to struggle again. And she had kept that promise. By sheer determination, she won a scholarship to a prestigious university, specializing in real estate. Her sharp instincts and relentless drive quickly made her a formidable name in the industry. By 29, she founded Monroe Properties, transforming it into a real estate empire in just a few years. Yet, as her success grew, so did the distance between her and her family. "Why do you work so hard? Are you trying to be someone better than us?" her mother had once asked, not with pride, but resentment. Her father, ever the stubborn man, refused her financial help, insisting on doing things his way. And April, her younger sister, had dropped out of college, flitting between part-time jobs while dismissing Jennifer's achievements as luck. They smiled at her in public, but behind closed doors, she could feel the weight of their resentment. But now she was about to change everything. Jennifer looked at the red envelope in her hands. Inside was a one-week luxury stay at Emerald Bay, an exclusive 5-star resort co-developed by her company. This was not just a lavish vacation. It was the first step in her plan to ensure her parents' financial security. The package included lifetime priority membership to a future luxury senior facility, designed to offer the best care money could buy. For April, there was an educational trust fund, allowing her to return to school whenever she wished. It was more than a gift. It was Jennifer's love, wrapped in red, tied with hope. She clutched the envelope to her chest, whispering to herself, "Maybe this time, they'll understand." With that thought, she grabbed her coat and headed out into the night, anticipation filling her heart for what she hoped would be a perfect evening with her family. A night of disappointment. The drive to her parents' home in Queens felt longer than usual. Jennifer had rehearsed the conversation in her mind over and over. Keep it light. Keep it warm. Tonight wasn't just about the gift. It was about healing the distance that had grown between them. She pulled up in front of the modest 2-story house, the same one her parents had lived in for decades. The paint on the shutters had started to peel, and the porch light flickered, just as it had years ago. It had frustrated her. She had offered to pay for repairs so many times, yet her father always refused. Taking a deep breath, she stepped out of the car, clutching the red envelope tightly. As soon as she opened the door, laughter drifted from the living room. It wasn't the kind of laughter that came from a shared joke or a fond memory. It was hushed, secretive, mocking. Jennifer walked in to find her parents, and April huddled around a piece of paper on a coffee table. The moment they noticed her, their smiles faltered, their laughter clipped short. "Oh, Jenny," her mother, Martha, greeted with an overly casual tone. She stood, smoothing out imaginary wrinkles in her sweater. "I thought you'd be late. You're always so busy." Jennifer ignored the jab and lifted the bottle of Chardonnay in her hands. "I brought Dad's favorite wine." Thomas barely glanced at it. Was all he muttered. Jennifer's gaze flicked to the crumpled piece of paper April had hastily shoved into her pocket. "What were you all looking at?" she asked. April shrugged, her lips curving into an amused smirk. "Nothing important." Jennifer didn't press. Instead, she followed her mother into the kitchen, where the table was set with her favorite childhood dishes. For a brief moment, warmth filled her chest. Maybe they had put in effort for tonight, too. As they sat down, she carefully broached the topic. "By the way, are you free next month? I have a special plan for you." Her mother arched a brow. "A plan?" She sipped her wine. "Is this more your business talk?" Jennifer shook her head. "No, it's something personal." She reached for the red envelope, her heart pounding. This was it. But before she could say another word, her father cut in, his tone sharp. "Jenny, you don't need to do anything special for us. We're happy with the life we have." April snickered, stabbing at a potato with her fork. "Yeah, my sister always has to make a big production out of everything." The conversation drifted away from her efforts, swallowed up by idle chatter, neighborhood gossip, sports, April's latest dating adventures. Every time Jennifer tried to steer it back, they skillfully dodged the topic. Finally, as dessert was served, she couldn't wait any longer. She set the red envelope down in the center of the table. "This is for your 40th wedding anniversary," she announced, forcing a smile. "I've prepared something really special for you." Martha and Thomas exchanged skeptical glances before Martha picked up the envelope and slid out the voucher and documents. Thomas leaned over her shoulder, skimming the contents. Their faces shifted, not with joy, but with something colder. "A resort in Florida?" Martha's lips curled in disapproval. "Not just any resort," Jennifer quickly explained, sensing their hesitation. "It's Emerald Bay, one of the most exclusive luxury resorts. You'll have a full week in the best suite, with personal concierge services, spa treatments, everything you could possibly want. And more than that," she gestured to the other documents. "It includes lifetime priority membership to a luxury senior residence when you're ready for it. In April, there's an educational trust fund for you, so you can go back to school whenever you—" A soft giggle interrupted her. Jennifer froze. She knew that laugh. It was the laugh her mother made when she was hiding something. Martha didn't even try to suppress it as she set the voucher back down. "Oh, Jenny." She shook her head, her amusement evident. Jennifer's stomach tightened. "What?" Martha leaned back in her chair, a triumphant gleam in her eye. "We already sold it." The words didn't register at first. "What?" "Yeah." Martha shrugged as if it were nothing. "Last week, your assistant called to say a special package would be arriving, so we figure it must be something expensive. As soon as it came, we sold it. Got a great price, too." Jennifer's hands went numb. "But why?" Thomas cleared his throat, his voice calm, matter of fact. "To be honest, a vacation with you would just be uncomfortable. We have our own lives, Jennifer." April reached for her mother's wine glass, took a sip, and smirked. And besides, the extra cash was nice. The three of them, her mother, her father, her sister, laughed. Jennifer's throat closed. She had spent years planning this. Every detail was crafted to ensure their comfort, their future, their happiness. And it sold it. Without hesitation. Without a second thought. Did they even read the documents? Did they even care? She forced herself to speak. "Did you look at what was inside?" Martha waved a hand dismissively. "There were some legal papers, but they looked complicated, so we didn't bother." Jennifer felt something inside her snap. Silently, she stood. Her hands shook as she reached for her car keys, her pulse roaring in her ears. "Oh, are you leaving already?" her mother asked, her voice light, oblivious. "What about dessert?" Jennifer didn't look back. She walked to the door, stepped out into the cold night air, and took a deep breath, trying desperately to keep herself from falling apart. She made it 10 minutes down the road before the first tear slipped down her cheek. By the time she pulled over, she was sobbing, gripping the steering wheel as her entire world blurred around her. Her phone vibrated. A call from her mother. She let it ring. Instead, she sent a single message to Lisa. Cancel all family plans for the Emerald Bay project. I'll explain tomorrow. She put the phone down and stared at her reflection in the rearview mirror. She had spent her whole life trying to lift them up, trying to show them she cared, trying to prove that she wasn't some outsider looking in. Tonight, she had her answer. They never wanted my help, and she was done trying to give it. A painful realization. The morning sun streamed through Jennifer's office windows, casting long golden beams across the polished surface of her desk. She hadn't slept. Instead, she had buried herself in work, drowning out the ache in her chest with a relentless focus on numbers, contracts, and project timelines. But no amount of work could erase what had happened last night. Lisa entered the office quietly, setting down a fresh cup of coffee. She didn't have to ask. Jennifer's pale face and dark circles spoke volumes. Miss Monroe, Lisa said hesitantly, about the Emerald Bay project. Are you sure you want to cancel all the special arrangements for your parents? Jennifer exhaled slowly, staring at the untouched stack of documents on her desk. It's already done, she said, her voice steady but devoid of warmth. I need you to schedule a meeting with Mr. Brown today. I'll explain the changes myself. Lisa hesitated, then nodded. Understood. As soon as Lisa left, Jennifer's phone rang. The name flashing on the screen made her stomach tighten. Mr. Brown. She picked up. Jennifer Monroe speaking. Miss Monroe, came the calm, yet slightly puzzled voice of her business associate. I'm calling regarding the special membership for Emerald Bay. All the paperwork for your parents is finalized, and their pre-opening VIP tour is scheduled. Will they be arriving next month as planned? Jennifer closed her eyes. There had been a time, just last night, in fact, when she had imagined how thrilled her parents would be upon learning what she had arranged for them, how safe and secure their future would be. But now she knew better. She inhaled sharply. Mr. Brown, there's been a change. Cancel everything. The membership, the priority access, the entire arrangement. A long pause. Then, Mr. Brown's voice returned, laced with confusion. Miss Monroe, is there a problem? The legal department has already processed the approvals. It's a personal matter, Jennifer cut in firmly. It won't affect the project itself, but my lawyer will be in touch to handle the necessary cancellations. There was another beat of silence before Mr. Brown sighed. Understood. After the call ended, Jennifer leaned back in her chair, pressing her fingers against her temples. This wasn't anger. It wasn't revenge. It was simply acceptance. Her family had made their choice. And now, she was making hers. She pressed the intercom. Lisa, please get Attorney Gordon on the line. I need him to handle some legal terminations immediately. A little over an hour later, Mark Gordon, her longtime legal counsel, sat across from her, flipping through the contract cancellations. His sharp eyes studied Jennifer carefully. You're terminating everything? He asked, incredulous. The lifetime membership to Emerald Bay, the priority access to the senior facility, and even the educational trust fund for April. Jennifer nodded, her expression unreadable. Mark set down the papers, his brows furrowed. Jennifer, I've known you for years. You spent a decade planning these things for your family. Are you sure you're making this decision for the right reasons? Jennifer's lips curled into a faint, humorless smile. Mark, this isn't a decision made in anger. It's a decision made in clarity. He studied her for a long moment before nodding. I'll take care of it. As he stood to leave, he paused. Just my personal advice? Don't shut the door on them forever. Jennifer met his gaze, but said nothing. As soon as he left, she turned back to her desk. Her hands clenched into fists. This wasn't about punishment. It wasn't about proving a point. It was about letting go. For the first time in her life, she had stopped fighting for their approval. She was done chasing love that would never come. A shocking revelation. Jennifer had barely settled back into work when Lisa burst into the office, her face pale with urgency. Miss Monroe, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we just received critical information about the person who bought your parents' voucher. Jennifer frowned. What do you mean? Lisa handed her a tablet. The buyer, Frank Diaz, is a known con artist. He has a long history of fraud and specializes in targeting seniors, tricking them into revealing their personal information. It's likely that. Jennifer didn't wait to hear the rest. Her fingers tightened around the device as she scanned the report. Mugshots, court records, a list of scammed victims who had lost their savings, their credit, their identities. And now, her parents were next. Lisa's voice was cautious. Miss Monroe, should we notify the police? Jennifer hesitated. After everything her parents had done, the mockery, the rejection, the complete disregard for her love, why should she care? Why should she lift a finger to help them? But even as the bitter thought crossed her mind, another voice rose within her. I never wanted them to struggle. And now, they were in real danger. Jennifer exhaled sharply. Not yet. Keep monitoring Diaz, and let me know immediately if there's any activity on my parents' accounts. I want a full report on his movements within the next 24 hours. Lisa hesitated. Understood. As she left, Jennifer sat still, her eyes locked on the screen. Her family may not have wanted her help, but that didn't mean she would let them be destroyed. Betrayal meets consequence. Jennifer stared at the city skyline outside her window, the cold glass pressing against her fingertips. The world below moved at its usual relentless pace. Taxis weaving through traffic, pedestrians hurrying along sidewalks. But inside, time felt frozen. Her family had brushed off her love, dismissed her efforts as if they were nothing. But now, they were entangled in something far more dangerous than their own pride. Lisa's voice crackled through the intercom. Miss Monroe, we have an update on Frank Diaz. Jennifer straightened. Go on. He's already opened multiple credit cards in your parents' names. We suspect he's working with a network, using stolen identities for larger fraud operations. The scale of this might be bigger than we thought. Jennifer inhaled deeply, exhaled slowly. She was no stranger to difficult decisions. But this was different. Do I step in, or let them deal with the consequences of their choices? Her phone buzzed. Her mother. Jennifer stared at the name, unmoving. Not yet. She let the call ring out. Instead, she reached for her keyboard, opening a new document. Monroe Family Support Foundation. She started typing. She had spent a lifetime trying to save her family. Maybe it was time to save someone else instead. A desperate plea. By noon the next day, the inevitable happened. Lisa entered Jennifer's office, looking uneasy. Miss Monroe, your parents are here. Jennifer froze. Her fingers hovered over her laptop keys. She had imagined this moment for years, her family finally realizing the depth of her love. But now that it was happening, she felt nothing. She glanced at Lisa. Tell them I'm leaving for Miami this afternoon. I did, Lisa said quietly. But they're desperate. They say it's urgent. A long silence stretched between them. Finally, Jennifer exhaled. Bring them to the conference room. I'll be there in 10 minutes. When she finally opened the door, they were unrecognizable. Her mother's usually pristine appearance was disheveled, her eyes red and swollen. Thomas looked exhausted, his shoulders hunched forward in defeat. And April, who had always carried herself with careless confidence, sat trembling, her fingers clutching her phone like a lifeline. Jennifer. Martha's voice cracked as she tried to stand. Her legs shook, and she sat back down. We need your help. Jennifer folded her arms. Oh, I thought you were satisfied with your life. April flinched. Thomas sighed, rubbing his temples. We were scammed, Jenny. His voice was thick with humiliation. That man, Diaz, he stole our information, opened credit cards in our names, took out loans, and now the banks. The banks think we did it. April whispered, her voice barely audible. They don't believe us. Jennifer sat down slowly, her face unreadable. Did you go to the police? Martha nodded weakly. Yes, but they said there's not much they can do. The purchases look legitimate. Our accounts, our names. Her voice wavered. We've lost everything. Jennifer tapped her fingers against the table. And tell me, mother, she said coolly, was it worth it? Martha's breath hitched. Jennifer, you sold my gift for quick cash, Jennifer continued, her voice razor sharp. You laughed at me for trying to help you. You mocked me. And now? Now you come crawling back. A suffocating silence fell. Tears welled up in Martha's eyes. I didn't know. You didn't care to know, Jennifer corrected. You didn't even read the documents. April bit her lip. Jennifer reached in her desk drawer and pulled out a thick folder. Let me show you what you threw away. She slid the documents across the table. Martha's trembling hands opened them, her eyes scanning the contents. Thomas leaned over, his brow furrowing. April paled. This was never just a vacation, Jennifer said, her voice emotionless. It was a lifetime membership to Emerald Bay, priority access to a luxury senior facility, a gifted villa under your names. Martha gasped. And for you, April? Jennifer turned to her sister. An educational trust fund, so you could go back to college whenever you wanted. April's hands covered her mouth. Oh my God, you didn't just sell a vacation, Jennifer said, her voice like steel. You sold your future. A choked sob broke from Martha's lips. Thomas buried his face in his hands. April's voice trembled. Did we ruin everything? Jennifer's expression didn't waver. Yes. Martha grasped her hands. Jennifer, please, is there any way to fix this? Jennifer pulled back. No. April let out a shaky breath. So that's it. Jennifer sighed, leaning back in her chair. I've already had my security team tracking Diaz, she admitted. My lawyer is handling the fraud investigation. A flicker of hope lit up Martha's face. But, Jennifer continued, this is the last time. Thomas looked up. What do you mean? Jennifer's eyes darkened. I will help resolve your financial mess. But after that, I'm done. Martha gasped. Jennifer, no. Don't beg now, Jennifer said coldly. You made your choice when you laughed in my face. April wiped at her tears. Jennifer stood. I'm leaving for Miami. Lisa will coordinate with my lawyer. I have nothing more to say. Martha sobbed. Thomas clenched his fists. But Jennifer didn't stay to comfort them. She walked away. And for the first time in her life, she felt free. A new beginning. Months passed. The fraud case was resolved. Her parents, now without savings, moved into a modest senior apartment. Thomas began volunteering as a repairman at a local community center, while Martha taught knitting classes. April returned to school, working toward an accounting degree. They sent Jennifer letters every week. She never replied. Then, on a snowy Christmas Eve, Jennifer found herself standing outside their apartment door, a small paper bag clutched in her hands. She knocked. The door opened. Martha froze. Jenny, Thomas, and April turned, their eyes wide with shock. Jennifer inhaled sharply. I brought a Christmas gift. She held out an envelope. Martha's hands shook as she took it. What is it? Day passes to Emerald Bay, Jennifer said softly. For all of us. Together. April covered her mouth. Thomas blinked rapidly. Martha choked out. Does this mean? Jennifer smiled, small, hesitant. Let's start over. A pause. Then, her father's hand reaching out. April sobs as she pulled Jennifer into a hug. And Martha's whisper, I'm so sorry. Snow fell outside, and for the first time in a long, long time, Jennifer felt home. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe for more real-life family dramas. Let me know in the comments what you think about today's story. Was it fair or totally messed up? See you in the next one.